Apparently, the gym isn't for exercise anymore. It's a courtroom where adults file emotional lawsuits against gravity. You'd think people just lift weights, but no. The real workout is surviving the complaints. And trust me, we're only warming up. 1. A man marched up to the front desk demanding to know who authorized the gym to make the weights heavier on Mondays because he swore his dumbbells had gained at least 10 pounds overnight. According to him, this was a targeted attack on his progress, his masculinity, and possibly his horoscope. The staff explained, very gently, that iron does not practice psychological warfare and gravity does not take weekends off. The man accused them of gaslighting him with physics, which is a sentence nobody should ever have to hear outside an AMC special. He then requested a written apology from management and a refund for all the lifts he had to struggle through due to sabotage, as though the universe had intentionally thickened the air around him. In the end, he left after declaring he would take his talents to a gym that respects consistency, which is a bold requirement from a person who clearly does not understand how mass works. 2. A woman burst into a spin class mid-session because she was furious that the bikes weren't facing the inspirational direction. When asked what that meant, she explained that the bikes should point toward the sunrise for optimal spiritual alignment. Despite the class being held at 7 p.m. in a windowless room under fluorescent lighting that flickered like a dying interrogation lamp. She insisted that without cosmic synergy, her workout suffered, her chakras drooped, and her RPMs plummeted. The instructor tried to explain that the bikes were bolted to the floor and not mystical compasses seeking adventure. She called this a hostile environment for personal growth and demanded the gym rotate the entire room by tomorrow morning. She then filed a complaint stating the gym had failed to respect celestial athletes, which sounds like a phrase invented by someone whose personality is 90% scented candles and retrograde warnings. 3. A guy approached trainers with a serious, deeply concerned expression, asking them to fix the treadmill that was making him run slower than usual. After inspecting the machine, staff discovered it wasn't malfunctioning. He had simply set the incline to the maximum level, turning his casual jog into a steep uphill pilgrimage he wasn't spiritually prepared for. When told this, he said the treadmill was clearly judging him and adjusting itself to make him look unfit. He also suggested all cardio machines should offer a confidence mode, where they pretend you're doing better than you are, because honesty is overrated in fitness. When staff reminded him that incline settings are controlled by a button he pressed 5 times, he nodded solemnly and said, "So, it's self-aware. Got it." His final note on the complaint card described the treadmill as emotionally aggressive, which is how you know someone has truly lost the battle against basic buttons. 4. Someone triggered the emergency stop on a rowing machine, then complained that the rower tried to kidnap them. They claimed the machine pulled them forward without warning, yanking their soul toward an unknown nautical fate. Staff reviewed footage showing the person leaning back so far they nearly attempted astral projection, then panicking when gravity took its perfectly predictable revenge. The complaint insisted the machine should come with psychological preparation instructions and a warning label stating you may feel unexpected sadness during the workout. When asked whether they had ever used a rower before, the person said yes, but only in a video game, so the physics should have matched. They ended by declaring rowing machines were unsafe unless equipped with airbags, which raises the question of whether this individual believes gyms operate inside demolition zones. 5. A man demanded a refund because the water in his bottle didn't feel hydrating enough. He explained that the gym's air quality reduced the molecular enthusiasm of his water, rendering it spiritually flat and physically disappointing. Staff attempted to clarify that hydration does not depend on vibes, energy frequency, or whatever self-help podcast he listened to on the way over. He remained unconvinced and insisted the gym reimburse him for emotional dehydration, a condition he defined as feeling less refreshed than expected. He even held up the water bottle like a prosecutor presenting tainted evidence, claiming the liquid tasted demotivated. Eventually, he demanded the gym begin selling premium, oxygen-forward, high-performance water, which is just water with a more expensive label. The interaction ended with him storming out, presumably to file a lawsuit against Rainfall for insufficient effort. 6. A woman complained that the squat racks were too intimidating because the bars stared at her. She insisted the gym install curtains around the equipment so she could squat without the surveillance energy of cold metal watching her succeed. Staff assured her that the barbell held no opinions, dreams, or grudges, and was unlikely to witness her emotional journey. She argued that she could feel its judgment through the metal, which suggests she should not be left alone with kitchen appliances either. She also wanted a privacy booth that would hide her from everyone except a trainer, a chiropractor, and possibly a motivational speaker. When told this wasn't feasible, she accused the gym of promoting public vulnerability athleticism, a phrase destined to haunt the dictionary. Her written complaint concluded that the squat rack was hostile architecture, confirming she has officially lost to an inanimate stick. 7. A regular marched up to management demanding the gym remove mirrors because they kept reflecting him at weird angles. When told that mirrors do that consistently by design, he insisted these particular mirrors were warping his aura and sabotaging his pump. He explained that every time he flexed, the mirror made him look 95% less shredded than he spiritually feels, which is remarkable considering mathematics is not supposed to be emotional. Staff tried to explain lighting and perspective, but he countered by accusing the gym of operating funhouse optics to oppress confidence. He then demanded the installation of reassuring mirrors that support muscular self-esteem, preferably ones that cooperate with his physique narrative. His final complaint warned that the mirrors were gaslighting him visually, which is perhaps the most creative way to admit you don't like your reflection. 8. A person stormed into the front office claiming that the elliptical wasn't respecting their boundaries. They said the machine moved too close during use, which is impressive for a device permanently bolted to the floor. After several confusing minutes, trainers realized the person meant the elliptical's motion felt uncomfortably clingy, like a needy coworker at a corporate retreat. They insisted the gym create personal space settings so the machine wouldn't approach them emotionally or physically. When reminded that elliptical pedals follow fixed paths designed by engineers, not codependent relatives, the person said that's exactly the problem and suggested the gym look into freedom-based cardio platforms. Their final request was for a machine that respects boundaries and fosters autonomous movement, which is, ironically, what legs are for. 9. A man filed a formal complaint accusing the dumbbells of not being evenly heavy on both sides. Staff investigated and found the weights were perfectly balanced, unlike the complainant's sense of personal responsibility. The man insisted that the right side of each dumbbell held emotional tension that made it unfairly heavier, causing his left arm to feel jealous. He demanded the gym recalibrate the weights to honor symmetrical effort, which could only be achieved if reality itself agreed to participate. When asked whether he had possibly lifted with poor form, he rejected the theory, claiming gravity has favorites. He also recommended the gym install dumbbells with adjustable fairness settings, suggesting he believed physics could be negotiated through democratic voting. His parting words, "These weights are biased." Scientists everywhere sighed in unison. 10. A woman declared the stair climber punishes ambition because no matter how many steps she took, she remained in the same location. She said the machine promoted emotional stagnation, accusing it of metaphorically trapping her in life's routines. Staff attempted to explain the concept of a cardio machine that simulates movement without changing location, which is not exactly advanced theoretical physics. She insisted the gym install a version that actually goes somewhere, preferably outdoors and uphill for scenic value. When reminded such a device already exists and is called stairs, she argued that stairs didn't count because they don't record calories burned. She finished by demanding goal-oriented steps that respect personal growth trajectories, a phrase that suggests she may need therapy far more urgently than quad work. 11. A member confronted trainers insisting the gym's kettlebells were too spherical, which apparently interfered with his ability to connect spiritually to the exercise. He claimed round weights lacked heroic geometry and were a betrayal of warrior aesthetics. When staff explained kettlebells had looked the same for centuries, he accused the industry of being stuck in tradition and ignoring athletes who crave angular empowerment. He wanted kettlebells shaped like cubes, pyramids, or preferably thunderbolts, apparently unaware that gripping these objects would be about as safe as hugging a porcupine. He also complained the kettlebells made him feel unsupported in his journey toward mythic strength. When asked what that meant, he described a workout program that sounded less like fitness and more like unpaid cosplay. 12. Someone furiously reported that the gym's cleaning spray was too judgmental because it smelled disappointed in their workout. They insisted cleaning supplies should offer encouragement, not shame, and suggested switching to a scent that smells like applause. Trainers explained disinfectant wasn't formulated to serve as a motivational speaker. It was formulated to kill bacteria, not empower personal narratives. The person argued the spray should at least smell proud, ideally like a sunrise after a successful battle. When asked whether they were joking, they said the gym must recognize the emotional impact of olfactory feedback. Their final request was for a spray bottle that supports growth and nurtures success, proving that some people expect even the chemicals to boost their self-esteem. 13. A man insisted the gym disable all clock displays because time ruins workouts. He explained that seeing minutes pass felt hostile and oppressive, disrupting his ability to enter the flow dimension, whatever that means. Staff tried to clarify that clocks are useful tools for pacing, but he countered that timers anchor people to societal expectations and prevent them from discovering timeless fitness. He demanded a gym where time evaporates, which is a poetic way of asking for existential chaos. When told clocks were staying, he accused the gym of supporting chronological tyranny, which definitely sounds like something shouted at a Renaissance fair. His written complaint ended with the chilling line, "Only muscles should track time," suggesting he might be recruiting for a cult. 14. A frustrated member insisted the air conditioning was too unsupportive because it didn't blow directly at them during cardio. When staff pointed out the vents were fixed overhead, they replied the gym should train the air to follow customers with the loyalty of a well-behaved pet. They claimed workouts were impossible without a personal wind aura that keeps the soul cool while the body suffers. Staff suggested using a portable fan, but the person argued that would be demeaning to their athletic dignity, as though handheld airflow were a moral compromise. They concluded the gym's climate system lacked customer commitment, which is an ambitious accusation to aim at HVAC equipment that already works harder than half the members. 15. A member demanded to ban resistance bands because they lied about their intentions. They claimed the bands pretend to be harmless little noodles before suddenly snapping back with emotional violence. Trainers explained that elastic tension behaves predictably, but the complainant insisted the bands had sneaky personalities and should be regulated for psychological honesty. They also suggested adding warning labels like "may betray you unexpectedly," which, admittedly, would not be inaccurate, but still avoids dealing with the real issue: improper use. They argued resistance bands lacked transparency about their motives and should be replaced with straightforward, trustworthy fitness tools such as iron, chains, or anything that doesn't recoil like a bitter ex. Their entire argument was an Olympic-level refusal to admit user error, showcasing how even stretchy rubber can expose someone's deepest avoidance instincts. 16. A member stormed up to the desk claiming the gym was tampering with their progress because every time they left the facility, they no longer had the same pump they saw in the mirror 30 seconds earlier. They insisted the gym install muscle retention air, a special atmospheric blend that would preserve their flexed state long after the workout, preferably until dinner. When staff explained that pumps fade naturally, they shook their head like a disappointed parent at a school recital. They accused the gym of allowing atmospheric sabotage and said the oxygen molecules clearly lacked enthusiasm and discipline. They demanded a dehumidifier to trap the pump, a humidifier to nourish the pump, and something called a pump sanctuary, where gains could safely marinate without outside interference. Their final complaint declared that gravity shouldn't get to decide when muscles relax, suggesting they were ready to take legal action against physics for unsportsmanlike conduct. 17. A person filed a complaint because the yoga mats didn't feel spiritually curious enough, claiming the mats lacked a sense of adventure and therefore discouraged personal exploration. They said the mats were too grounding, which is ironic given that grounding is literally the point of yoga, but logic rarely survives these situations. They asked staff whether the mats had been ethically raised, emotionally supported, and exposed to a proper philosophy curriculum, because apparently, foam rectangles are now expected to have vibrant inner lives. They even suggested upgrading to mats made from contemplative materials, though when asked what those were, they listed things like morning fog, whispered intentions, and the remorse of old trees, creating a shopping list better suited to a wizard than a fitness center. Their declared ideal was a mat that reflects personal uncertainty while supporting personal growth, proving that some people don't want yoga, they want therapy equipment disguised as gym gear. 18. A member confronted trainers demanding to know why the fan near the free weight area wasn't following them. They believed that having a personal breeze was not a luxury, but a fundamental human right, guaranteed somewhere between hydration breaks and not falling off a treadmill. They said the fan abandoned them emotionally whenever they walked away from its direct airflow, which, again, is exactly how stationary objects work. They argued the gym should replace all fans with intelligent ones that sense ambition and chase people around like well-trained border collies. When staff offered the radical solution of moving the fan closer, the member rejected it on the grounds that real wind must be organic, not staged. They concluded their complaint by stating the air should recognize dedicated athletes and reward them accordingly, indicating they believe HVAC systems are capable of moral judgment. 19. Someone demanded the gym ban jump ropes because they kept tricking them, claiming the rope intentionally changed length mid-exercise to embarrass them in front of strangers. They described the rope as a shifty, unpredictable villain that waits for its moment to strike, which, in reality, was just the rope hitting their shoes because of inconsistent timing. When trainers explained that coordination develops with practice, they dismissed it as propaganda, created by people who side with the ropes. They recommended replacing jump ropes with reliability sticks, an invention they described as solid, straight, and loyal, which is just a stick, but they pitched it like a breakthrough in fitness technology. They ultimately accused the jump rope of breaking trust with the athletic community, a phrase that makes one wonder how they function in a world full of genuinely unpredictable objects, like shoelaces or gravity. 20. A member complained angrily that the locker room scale was disrespectful because it kept displaying the same number even after they flexed at it. They insisted scales should consider emotional effort, especially after a workout in which they felt lighter spiritually. When trainers tried to explain that weight doesn't fluctuate based on feelings, the member stared blankly as though hearing a foreign language. They claimed scales should reward ambition, not reality, and suggested implementing an optimism mode that automatically adds or subtracts whatever number the user feels represents their truth. They then accused the gym of being committed to linear thinking because the scale refused to interpret their vibe. Their handwritten complaint simply read, "Scales must support the journey, not undermine the vision," suggesting the individual sees themselves less as a gym member and more as the protagonist of a motivational poster with very loose scientific grounding. 21. A regular demanded the gym remove all exercise balls because they mock balance struggles, claiming the balls behaved like round traitors waiting to betray unsuspecting athletes. They described the balls as too cheerful, insisting that fitness tools should not bounce unless specifically instructed. When trainers suggested using a smaller ball or practicing on a mat first, the person waved this off as tactical avoidance of responsibility by the gym. They explained that an exercise ball should stabilize itself out of courtesy, like a polite chair with round edges. They even proposed redesigning the balls to be emotionally neutral, which apparently means removing all bounce and possibly their will to live. Their final remark stated that fitness balls are comedic weapons posing as equipment, which, honestly, is a surprisingly accurate observation wrapped in unnecessary drama. 22. A man confronted staff because the pull-up bar refused to cooperate with his personal narrative. He believed the bar should meet him halfway, both metaphorically and physically, which unfortunately is not how metal behaves. He argued that if he jumped, the bar should respond with enthusiasm and lower itself a few inches as a gesture of encouragement. When told that adjustable pull-up bars exist, he rejected the idea instantly, insisting he needed organic bar support, not mechanical pity. He then suggested the gym create a system where bars adjust to each user's emotional readiness, rising or lowering like empathetic elevators of fitness. He left behind a complaint card describing the pull-up bar as unyielding, rigid, and judgmental, proving that he truly sees gym equipment as co-workers with bad attitudes rather than objects doing their singular, non-negotiable job. 23. A person insisted the gym turn down the volume of their own grunts. Not other people's grunts, their own. They claimed the room's acoustics were amplifying their exertion noise in a way that felt performative, as though the building itself was trying to turn them into the main character of an unwanted opera. Staff attempted to explain that acoustics are not selectively targeting anyone, but the person believed the gym had installed sound-boosting panels solely to embarrass them. They asked whether the gym could equip them with a personal sound-absorbing cloud that follows them around during sets, dampening every audible strain like an overworked audio technician. Their closing statement demanded the gym respect vocal privacy in shared spaces, as though lifting weights were a confidential activity requiring non-disclosure agreements and whisper-based reps. 24. A member complained the stretching area felt too honest, claiming the wide-open space exposed them to unfiltered truths about flexibility. They insisted stretching should occur in dim lighting or behind shaded panels so their hamstrings could grow privately without the gaze of strangers. When trainers offered a quieter corner, they said the corner had the wrong emotional density, whatever that means. They suggested replacing the area with a stretch sanctuary, featuring candles, soft drapes, and something called ambient forgiveness, effectively turning a simple warm-up zone into a boutique meditation studio. Their written complaint claimed the current setup lacked compassion for tight muscles, implying that the gym, not physiology or sitting all day, had betrayed them. It remains unclear whether they ever stretched again or simply continued blaming architecture for their inability to touch their toes. 25. A person complained that the cable machine was gaslighting them because no matter how much weight they selected, it felt heavier than expected, a phenomenon otherwise known as resistance. They accused the machine of sabotaging morale by failing to reflect the strength they believed they possessed. Staff attempted to explain mechanical friction, pulley ratios, and gravity, but the person dismissed these concepts as excuses invented by people who enjoy barriers. They demanded the machine reveal its true weight intentions and offer a setting that aligns with emotional expectations, essentially asking for a fantasy mode where cables pull themselves. Their final complaint described the machine as deceptive, dramatic, and inconsistent, making it sound less like a workout tool and more like a character from a soap opera who needs to be written out of the storyline. 26. A man objected to the gym's floor mats because he claimed they absorbed too much disappointment, which he said created a dense aura of failure that interfered with his motivation. He believed mats should repel emotional residue, not collect it like tragic sponges of athletic regret. When trainers told him the mats were cleaned regularly, he said cleaning doesn't remove energetic clutter, which apparently requires sage, chanting, or possibly a small exorcism. He then proposed color-coding mats based on their vibe, with red reserved for determination, blue for emotional processing, and yellow for people who need encouragement but don't want to talk about it. His complaint ended by suggesting the gym hire someone to rotate mat energies weekly, making it the first time anyone has tried to give rubber flooring a personality rotation schedule. 27. A member demanded the gym enforce a policy banning people from breathing too confidently. They claimed some members exhaled with competitive dominance, creating an atmosphere of respiratory intimidation. They believed breathing should be egalitarian, not a means of asserting hierarchy. When trainers pointed out that breathing is essential, they clarified that they weren't against breathing itself, only breathing with swagger. They recommended the gym install breathable partitions or issue standardized breathing rhythms so no one could out-inhale or out-exhale another member. They left behind a handwritten note warning that unchecked breathing leads to ego inflation, a statement that would concern doctors, philosophers, and anyone familiar with how lungs work. 28. A regular insisted the battle ropes were too dramatic, claiming they demanded attention with their loud slams and theatrical motions. They believed the ropes were stealing focus and disrupting the emotional pacing of the gym. When staff reminded them the ropes are optional equipment used by willing participants, they argued the ropes should be moved to a private room where their attention-seeking behavior wouldn't disturb quieter energy. They then suggested creating a rope schedule so members could avoid encountering the ropes during moments of introspection or low motivation. Their official complaint ended with the genuinely iconic line, "These ropes perform more than I do," proving that the real issue was not the equipment, but competition with inanimate objects capable of making louder noises. 29. A person protested that the treadmills were too committed to literal interpretation, because when they pressed the stop button, the machine had the nerve to stop immediately instead of easing them into a graceful cinematic slowdown. They said the abrupt halt interrupted their narrative flow and made their workout feel artistically incomplete. They recommended treadmills include customizable endings, gentle fades, triumphant swells, dramatic pauses, so each user could close their run like a protagonist. When staff explained safety standards, they argued that safety should collaborate with self-expression, a phrase clearly invented moments before speaking. Their comment card requested treadmills that respect story arcs, which officially ranks as the most poetic complaint ever submitted about a machine that exists solely to simulate running nowhere. And that's today's tour through gym-powered nonsense. Vote for the dumbest complaint in the comments, because clearly the chaos isn't stopping, and neither are we. Like, subscribe, survive,